Hey friends, welcome to the HealthSimple Show. I'm your host, Kyle Reidhead, and I interview health and wellness experts from around the world to help you live healthy, happy, and stress-free. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and if you have any questions about anything we talk about through this episode, just comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Enjoy the show. All right, everyone. Well, welcome back to HealthSimple Radio. Today, I am joined with Payal Aggarwal, who is the Affirmation Addict. That's her nickname, I guess. So, Payal, welcome to the show, first of all.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you for joining us here today. I'm super excited to talk about affirmations because this is something that I've sort of gotten into over the past, recent couple of years anyway. I've kind of gone off and on with it, so maybe I could use a little bit of help, which is why I'm going to grill you with questions today. But first, I just want to know what got you so interested in affirmations, and this is something you've been doing for quite a long time. Why don't you give us a bit of a background on that?
Yeah. So I have been introduced to affirmations since I was actually 12 years old. My mom sat us down and she was like, let's all watch The Secret together. And I was like, okay, let's do it. I made a vision board that night. And then she gave me a book by Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. And I read that and I was obsessed. So literally I have been using affirmations and manifestation and law of attraction since I was about 12 years old. And in every step of my life, I've used it and it's been so powerful. And finally, through affirmations, I learned that it is my purpose to spread the power of affirmations. Nice. I used to work in corporate and I actually hated my job. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do after this, but I just know I want to be my own boss. So I would I had the ideal job in corporate, but I hated it. I was like, this sucks, And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to affirm that I'm going to be my own boss. And then a few weeks later, an idea came to me and then I was like, let's test the market. And that's kind of how I started.
That's amazing. And you know what? You do need to be out here in Bali, as we were just talking before the episode, because everyone here has just recently quit their corporate job because they didn't like it and they're working online, starting their business or running their business. So that's what life is here in Bali. But that's amazing that you did. How long ago was it that you left your corporate job, and what was that like, that transition going from corporate to kind of your own business?
Yeah. So I quit corporate. I started July 2017 and I quit July 2018. So it was a very short 1 year right after college. Okay. I couldn't do it. And then after that, I already started building my Instagram and I'm creating an app. That was actually the main idea. So I started building the app and getting some good traction. And basically I quit my job and I flew back to Seattle with my boyfriend. And I was like, this is amazing. The transition in me was so easy because I was craving it so much. And honestly, there's never been a day where I was like, it would be so much better if I was working.
Yeah. Oh,
so
absolutely.
It felt really, really seamless, and it just felt like I did the right thing.
Now, it was The Secret that you said you had watched. I've seen that actually a few times.
Yes.
I think I was introduced when I was maybe 18, and I think it made a big impact in my life too. I created a vision board as well.
Yeah.
And it was crazy actually. I created a vision board and I had a specific car that was on there, and I kind of forgot about the vision board because I moved to a new city in Toronto and I started working there, went to school there, whatever. Forgot all about the vision board. After I started working in corporate, I got my first car, and it was the car that was on my vision board.
Oh my God.
I didn't even know when I bought the car. And then after that, I was like, hey, this is the same thing that was on. It was actually a step above. It was the more luxurious one. So I was like,
oh, nice. So you upgraded.
Yeah, I upgraded it. But, I don't have a vision board anymore, but I think I kind of do just in my mind. It's just something that I try to manifest, I guess. And I think it was really cool just to give me that motivation to be better and to work towards something, which when I was younger, I didn't really do. I didn't really have a direction. So I thought it was pretty cool for that. Can you just explain what affirmations are and maybe what manifesting is, the things that you do to get you kind of where you are today?
Yes. Okay. So in a really simple way, affirmations, honestly, any single thing you speak is an affirmation. So every word you're speaking is an affirmation, but the reason and way you can really practice them is be intentional with what you want in your life. So if you, for example, you want a new car, like your example, you can say, I have a G35. That can be like kind of what your affirmation is. And you say it in the present tense, and you really just want to make sure you say it in the present tense and don't have negative words in it. It's okay, but negative words have still negative frequency. So it kind of gives the universe mixed signals is like the best way to explain it. And so your goal is to have them always in present tense, because if you say them in the future, your affirmations will stay in the future. Okay. And so present tense is super important. And then really like feeling the emotion behind it, like get excited and get enthusiastic about it. Don't like cry your eyes out and say your affirmations. Like if you're feeling sad, like cry it out and then shift your energy. Like don't just bawl your eyes out and like force yourself to say them, because that's not really going to do anything. You want to really feel good and feel excited as if those things were already true.
So basically you're wanting to try to believe in it before it actually even happens. And I guess this is something that you do every single day. Do you do it a bunch of times a day, or how does that work?
Yeah. So for me personally, I do them 1 to 2 times a day. I normally do them in the morning because I think it's a great way to like set my intention for the day. And then you can say them out loud if you want. A lot of people recommend, like, especially if you're just starting out, saying them while looking in the mirror, which I know sounds really ridiculous. Trust me, the first time I did it, I was like this 16-year-old, and I was like, oh my God, like I'm too cool for this. But now I love it. And it's so powerful. But if that makes you feel uncomfortable, maybe start by writing them down in a journal. And that's personally my favorite way to do it, because it kind of feels like you're writing, like for me, I only write down things that are true or facts. So it feels like really real when you're writing it down, because like you're taking notes on like the best parts of your life, so to speak. So you can write down your affirmations or say them out loud 1 to 2 times a day, but there's no limit and there's no like rules. So it's okay if you even miss a day, like your life isn't going to end. Like it's really when it feels good to you, and just have fun with it. It's not something to take seriously. It's not like something you have to check off in your schedule. Like when it feels right to you, do it. And like your body and your mind already knows what you really want. It's more like your physical kind of actions, your physical words that is really helping create your reality. So you know what you already need. It's just, are you ready to like receive what you really want?
Okay. And is it it's kind of like sending your body or your brain a little bit of a reminder each day that, hey, this is what I want. This is where I want to be. This is who I want to be, that kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. So the way actually it works is your subconscious mind, we're programmed when we're about like 7 years old. So a lot of the beliefs that we are taught by, whether it's our parents, our teachers, friends at that age, that's kind of the beliefs we continue living on with, even though we don't know it. And that's subconscious. And so our subconscious beliefs, for example, a big one for me is like, you have to work really, really, really hard to earn money. And starting my own business, that was the biggest battle. But I was like, what if I challenged that? So I was like, what if I could not work super hard? Like I work passionately, but I don't work like 50 hours or 60 hours a week, and I still can make just as much money, if not more. And challenging those beliefs. And that's where affirmations come in, because your affirmations can be like, money flows to me easily, and I work as much as I want, and I make as much as I want. So the things that you keep telling yourself are reprogramming those subconscious beliefs, and the repetition helps it reprogram faster. So that's why repetition is important. But yeah, that's really what affirmations are doing, is reprogramming your subconscious beliefs. And the second your beliefs and your mind changes, your reality will start to shift as well.
Well, and I think that's important, because especially when we're younger, as you talked about, we're told no a lot. We're told that maybe you can't do this, or that's going to be difficult, or that's never going to happen, or it's impossible. And so I think that becomes part of our subconscious for many of us. So working to change that, I think is really important. I think that's something that I try to do. Not like I lived this really, this awful life when I was younger, where I was told no all the time and was never set up to achieve or anything. But, I think it was just a bit of a mindset change that, hey, you actually can achieve anything. You just need to go after it. And so affirmations and reminding yourself every morning that, hey, this is where you want to get to. This is who you want to be. Was kind of a great guidance to get me there. Now, I've heard from a lot of people, and there's a lot of people online or elsewhere that do affirmations and say it works really well. Is there science to support it? Is there data? Is there research? Or is it more of like it's a theoretical thing that people have tried and just it happened to work?
So yes, that is such a good question, because this is like literally in my family, my brother and my dad, the most logical, data-driven people I know.
Okay.
They're like, how can this work? And so I literally spent so much time convincing them and like pulling up reports. Yeah. So the reason this is scientifically backed, this goes back to Albert Einstein, actually. So quantum physics. So if you want to know how, like, basically it's all about energy. That's what it really comes down to. So that's where quantum physics comes in, because like attracts like. That's the law of attraction. And so the way your thoughts are like vibrating is the way that you're receiving more into your life. I'm probably not explaining this well at all, but there is science. So if you do want to look into it, look up quantum physics and look up Albert Einstein. Actually, he is one of the first ones who talked about the power of law of attraction. And that honestly what a lot of his stuff was. Yeah, people thought he was crazy, but I don't know. I agree with him. And so it is definitely research backed. And even like, so a lot of people are like, well, this is just placebo effect, but the placebo effect works. Like it might be a placebo, but it works. Like that's what it is. Like placebo is science still. Yeah. So even if you think like you're just faking it to yourself, I mean, it's still working. I don't think it's faking it, because to me, I'm affirming for things I know I really want deep down inside. And I know like my inner being needs and that I want. But for some people, and especially when I started out, I was like, well, I'm just faking myself out, but it works. So it works. But there is definitely deep science to it.
Now, what do you say that there's science? Is there, and I don't mean to be picky, I'm all for affirmation. No. The other thing too, actually, is that I agree that if the placebo effect is the cause or the result of why it worked, great.
Yeah.
Who cares why it worked?
Yeah,
right? It doesn't matter the mechanism. If it worked, it worked.
Exactly.
So do it. But I'm just curious, you know, have they ever had like, and I'm sure this is a very difficult study to set up, but like, let's say someone who was doing affirmations every single day versus people who were not, you know, was there a higher percentage chance that they achieved their goals or any of those kind of studies? Or is that just too difficult and too many variables to actually set up?
I'm sure you could set that up. I don't think that's difficult. I'm not aware of it. Like I haven't researched into it, but that's honestly a good suggestion. Yeah. But what I can say is like, I don't think because affirmations, things will happen. I just think affirmations escalate the process. Like to me, my firm belief is if you're supposed to be somewhere, you'll get there one way or the other. Like if I'm supposed to move to San Francisco, I know I'll get there one way or the other. But I do think for things like affirmations and just acknowledging like vision boards, like whatever you want, I do think it gets you more aware, more ready for it quicker.
Yeah, I agree. Now, so someone who's never done an affirmation before, doesn't know where to start, doesn't know how to find their own affirmations, what kind of advice would you have? Where should you start looking or thinking, I guess, and kind of what would be your action plan?
Yeah. So I think if you're just getting started, not in a biased way at all, but I have like hundreds of affirmations on my Instagram feed. And that's just like one of the reasons I'm doing it, to share affirmations that work for all types of people as millennials. Because there's very famous people like Louise Hay, who really started the affirmation movement. But I think some of those are more like very simple, or they're not like, I think it might be harder for people to connect as a millennial. And so I feel like some of the ones I put out is more for like work situations and different types of situations that a lot of us can connect to. So I recommend just Googling affirmations or going to somebody you trust or you want to look at, and any affirmation that you're drawn to, look at those and either write them down or say them out loud a few times a day, and just see if you feel better after saying them. Like you'll notice resistance. That's natural. You'll feel like a psycho probably the first time, and then you'll feel way better. Like it took me a really long time to actually even say them out loud, because that's just like a block. Like it's really showing you that you're really scared to admit what you're worthy of. Like that's the deeper meaning of it, honestly. But once you start doing it, you start feeling like on top of the world. And if you don't want to do any of that, just even start with like, I love myself, I'm confident, and I'm the creator of my life. Simple things like that, just acknowledging the power you have within and getting over kind of the ego, the surface level things that a lot of us deal with day to day. And start trying out those and see if you feel even a little bit better.
And I think just the fact that you're taking a few minutes to just spend some time with yourself and your own thoughts is huge, because I think in 2019, we don't do that all that often, right? We live in our phone, we're busy. And so just being mindful, whether you're doing it the right way or not, whether there is a right way. But I think just even that in itself is a big step in the right direction. So I think that's great. Now, do you do affirmations about everything in life? We've talked more about, I guess, business goals, things like that, but
Mhm.
someone can do affirmations about just their personal life maybe, or about
Yes.
relationships or family, or kind of anything and everything.
Yeah, honestly, I can't think of a situation where I haven't used affirmations, like in a time where like normally it's like a struggle, right? Like that's where it starts, like something's
Hmm.
not right. So in any situation where I've struggled with, whether it was a relationship, like getting out of a really toxic relationship, whether it was a bad friendship, even not even a romantic relationship, health issues are a huge one that I think it's really, really not talked about. But for example, something as big as cancer, I've helped people use affirmations, and definitely other medical techniques like natural medicine, but use that type of mindset work to shift cancer cells literally out of their body, because it is possible. It's just even acknowledging the power of your mind. So I don't think there's a situation that affirmations can't work. It's just if you're willing to even let them work.
Hmm. Hmm. Now, do your affirmations change often, or is it the same thing? Or do you have, let's say, maybe some core affirmations, and then as life, happens and things change, you kind of adapt and go with it? Or do you have some set core affirmations that you would use, and you have been for, let's say, years?
I think the only core one that I've always used is I love myself unconditionally, because
Okay.
I think self-love is something that is an everlasting process.
Hmm.
Because whether you're not confident to start your own business or something, I do think self-love and like self-acceptance is my main core one that's always been there. Like I
Okay.
consider myself very confident, but when I'm launching a new business idea, obviously the doubt will creep back up, and that is a sign of lack of self-worth, self-love. So
Hmm.
that's my most consistent one, but they change. Like when I was in college, it was all about manifesting my dream job. Now it's about like my business being successful and my app being successful, or
Hmm.
about like my boyfriend coming home from deployment safely. So it really for me changes situation by situation, but the core one is always like self-love, and also just like being joyful. I think those are like, because to me, my belief is like if you're joyful, everything flows to you. But it's
Hmm.
really hard to be genuinely joyful, especially like in our busy day-to-day lives.
Yeah. Yeah. If you just love yourself and you just try to be happy every day, whether
Yeah,
you get your dream job or not, life is still going to be good.
exactly. And I know that's like so, like even my brother was like, that's so dumb. And I was like, no, it's not. I like, it's literally a conversation we have all the time. I was like, it's not. Like, I know it just sounds like let go of everything, but that's not what I'm saying. It's just like accepting that, you know what, I'm happy with who I am. So that's
Hmm.
fine. Like the
Hmm.
reason I want my dream job is because I think I'll be happier, not because that defines me and I like hit a certain quota. So like that's kind of like the really like vague line that I don't think a lot of people see with affirmations. It's like, it's not like you drop everything and stop working. It's more like you accept yourself, you accept your life, and
Yeah.
then just bigger and better things will keep coming.
Yeah. Now, do you find that affirmations are helpful in a state of, let's say you have anxiety or you have depression, or you're struggling with stress, and all of a sudden that comes on and you get overwhelmed and it hits you? Do you then kind of just sit back and talk to yourself and say your affirmations? Or is it more like you do it in the morning and that's just a thing you do for the day? Or do you see this as like a tool to use in the event of feeling overwhelmed or whatever it may be?
No, that is such a great point. Yes, I've definitely used this like when I'm feeling overwhelmed, because it's basically like the reason we feel overwhelmed is because there's something wrong. So if you can understand, or if you could just try and be consciously aware enough to try and shift your energy, then
Hmm.
that's amazing. I think the biggest thing is most of us forget that we even have the power to shift our energy from being super overwhelmed to not, because we're like, well, I'm overwhelmed. I'm going to be overwhelmed like for 5 hours now. But if you have the awareness and you want to shift it, yeah, like I use affirmations all the time. Like when I'm overwhelmed, I'm like, you know what? I take a step back. I let myself feel anxious. I can't just like be like, okay, anxiety gone. Like you
Yeah.
feel it for a little bit, but then it's like, it's that mental work through. It's like really controlling your mind. Like, what are the thoughts I'm thinking? And the thoughts are probably dumb thoughts. And so it's like they're not really serving me. So how can I start switching these thoughts, and what can I learn from these thoughts,
Hmm.
rather than going in like the downward spiral of I'm not good enough and who am I to be doing this?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And for me, when I would deal with stress or anxiety, I always would resort to exercise, right? Or just
Mhm.
movement. So go for a run or go hit the gym. And then I started to apply affirmations and exercise together when I started to feel overwhelmed. And it made a huge difference, just to help kind of understand why you start to feel anxious or why you're stressed out, right? Because if you
Yeah.
don't talk to yourself and try to figure it out, then it's just going to keep happening and you're never really going to find patterns or figure out what's triggering it. So I think affirmations is one thing that kind of helped me kind of just learn myself a little bit more
Yeah.
and just have a better hold, I think, on who I am and how I'm feeling.
That's awesome. That is so
Mhm.
cool. I'm so happy to hear that. I get so excited when I hear about other people using them.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So talk to me a little bit about your app. I don't know if you can yet because it's not
Yeah.
launched, but if you can, I'd love to hear what it's all about and what you're doing with it.
Yeah, so the main reason I really wanted to create an app is because I think people's biggest excuse not to practice affirmations is that they don't have enough time.
Mm.
And my kind of thought with it is there's a couple of like features that go into it, but the biggest thing is like you can truly use affirmations anytime, any day, even if it means being on your phone, but being on your phone rather than being on social media, being on the app and looking at a list of affirmations customized for you, tracking like your personal journey, like what all you've manifested, what you're grateful for, just like when you're not feeling good, rather than scrolling on social media and probably feeling worse,
Yeah.
you can go to the app and be like, you know what, I'm consciously choosing to shift my mindset. I'm consciously choosing to feel better and work towards what makes me feel better. And so the real main purpose of the app, like, is to have little reminders pop up on your phone for yourself. So affirmations that I've created or you can create for yourself, and you can make wallpapers. There's a lot of fun things in there, but really just integrating affirmations into different parts of your life really seamlessly, because I don't want people to have the excuse that they don't have time for it, because I think that's completely just an excuse.
Absolutely. So first of all, I'm excited for the app. I think that's a great idea. The
Thank
reminders
you.
is huge. I think people need that.
Mhm.
Second of all, if you're someone who says you don't have enough time for affirmations, shame on you. check your
I
check your
agree.
screen stats right now. I guarantee you've been on Instagram for over an hour or 2 hours at least for the day.
Mhm.
If you're from the ages of 20 to probably 40.
Oh yeah,
so
my mom, she is on her screen so long, and I'm like, all right,
absolutely.
like I can't even feel guilty about this. Like we're equal now.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, with affirmations, it takes a couple minutes and you can do it the moment
Exactly.
you wake up. You can do it when you're driving. You can do it in the shower. You can do it. I don't know. There's so many times. I used to do it in the sauna every day. There's not really any saunas here
Yeah.
in Bali, so I
Yeah.
don't do it then
It's like a
anymore.
natural sauna.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's so easy to just talk to yourself. If you can't find time to talk
Yeah.
to yourself, then you've got more issues that you need to work on.
Exactly. That's like a big ego thing that you got to work through. And that's why, like with the app, like you can read them, you can set reminders on them, you can use them at your own pace. Like you can use them and like read through them and read them one by one out loud. You
Mhm.
can copy them into a journal, set it as your wallpaper. Like even just that's why vision boards are so powerful. Like my vision board is honestly mainly affirmations,
Yeah.
because just words connect with me a lot. And like there's not as many things I imagine on like visually yet, you
Mhm.
know? And so for me, a lot of it is more like affirmations, and it's so powerful to just see those words over and over, because that's what makes your subconscious think of those as like, that's real, it's possible.
Yeah.
Like I'm a millionaire. Like that's so out of reach for a lot of us, because that just, there's such a heavy connotation around it. But the more and more you see it, the more comfortable you get with that.
Hmm. You know, the wallpaper on your phone is a very powerful thing because I don't know, for most people, you're probably seeing that phone and that wallpaper close to 100 times a day, right?
Yeah, at
So
least.
if you can have a nice quote on there or something to remind you of a certain goal or anything that is going to be motivating to you, that's massive because you're going to see it so many times. I try to always put like a quote, or before I was working on patience because I was a very impatient person and I knew that I needed to
Mhm.
improve my patience. So I had a quote about that. So it would remind me to be patient all the time. And so there were times where I'd start to be impatient and I'd be wanting to rush and I'd look at my phone and go, oh yeah, okay. And I just kind of take
Yeah,
a deep
like
breath.
that's what I
And
need to do.
so the reminders are huge. So I love that. And if you're not using your wallpaper to kind of optimize your life, it's an easy, free tool.
Yeah,
Super
seriously, it's
simple.
super free. Like you can do whatever you want. Like whether it's somewhere you want to go that gets you excited, so that
Hmm.
can be like a vision board, or if
Yep.
it's like an affirmation or a quote that really reminds you of who you want to be.
Hmm. Hmm. Now, is there anything that we've missed on affirmations that you think the listeners need to hear or that we just didn't talk about?
I think one big thing is like make sure you have fun with them, because this whole process, it's not about like, okay, I manifested this much this year. It's more about like I'm enjoying the process of creating as well as the things I've created, because a lot of the time we focus on that end result, but the key is enjoy your process, enjoy the affirming, enjoy all of that. Don't do it as like a task. It should be fun. And if it's not fun for you, talk to me and I'll help you make it fun. But it's really, really much more so about enjoying that process, because the more you're enjoying the process, you're going to always enjoy that process, because there's always something more you're going to want to manifest.
Yeah.
And I think there's no rules. Like people think they have to like sit in a quiet room and do it, but you can do it, like you said, in the sauna. I do it while I'm like washing my face in the morning. Like you can implement it into different parts of your life, and you can do it as much as you want. Like it's a really, really easy, free, literally free, powerful tool that you do for yourself, and that's it. And so I think people forget that like they have so much control over their lives. We're so used to living in like, because of other people, we live in control of our boss, we live in control of our parents, but it's the other way around. Like you are in full control, even if it doesn't seem like it.
I love that. And the process, there's life is a process. So it's always going to be a process. And once you achieve the one thing you were trying to achieve, well, you're not going to be satisfied right then. Maybe for a minute you will, but then it's okay. But now what's next? Right. And that's just the way that humans work. So if you're not enjoying the process, then that's going to be a difficult time, because you're always going to be in some sort of process. So
yeah. And you know what? Really, I actually read something the other day where it's literally another science-based fact that humans are the only creature, I guess, that have that free will. And the reason that's so powerful is because that free will is the free like will of choice. So you can choose if you want to be like positive or negative. You can choose if you want this or that. So like that choice is, we're the only creatures that have that. And so use it and like honor it. And I think we forget that like we're designed to grow. Like you said, like we're never going to be satisfied, but that's like that hunger, and that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Like it's your choice on how you want to see it, honestly.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, so I have one question that I ask at the end for all my guests. But before I do, why don't you tell us where we can learn a little bit more about you, or if we like what you're saying, then we can follow you somewhere, or where can we find you on the internet?
Yes. So Instagram for sure. My handle is just at Affirmation Addict. And then on my website, you can see more about coaching, updates about the app, all of that stuff. And that is affirmation-addict.com. And there's also a link to that on my Instagram. Perfect. And I'm also on all other platforms as Affirmation Addict.
Instagram's just the one where you're
the main one. Yeah. I feel like that's like the one that most people are on, but I have a YouTube, I have Facebook, all of that.
Awesome. Cool. Okay. So here's my final question for you. And it doesn't have to be about affirmations at all, but it can be. Okay. It's up to you. So you've been on a health journey. Health is something that is important in your life, I'm sure. If you were to go back to the very beginning of when you first started to focus on your health and start that sort of health journey, and you were to forget everything that you've learned along the way so far, what would be the one piece of advice now that you would tell yourself if you were just starting out? If you kind of forgot everything that you currently know?
Oh, I love that question. I would say my health journey definitely started when I was probably in middle school, because I think all girls deal with the weight and the body, and that really and I think everybody deals with that, like not just girls, but I think girls are way more insecure about it. And I think the biggest thing I would have told myself is I'm in full control of my body, and I can choose to like my body if I want to. Because I do think my body and mind are so connected, and we forget that. And I think honoring your body for what it is, honoring your health for what it is, not living it because someone told you to do squats or someone told you to drink a green smoothie, like living it for me, and I'm in control and I can like what I like.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, if you want to change your body, if you're not happy with your body and every day you tell yourself you're not happy, you're going to make it very difficult to make changes in your body.
You're literally affirming opposite.
Exactly. Yeah. So I love that. And I think that's something that, not a lot of people do that want to lose weight, let's say, or get bigger, or get stronger. They kind of stress over it. And that this creates this toxic environment in the body that it tells your body that I don't want to change, right? I'm not going to change because I'm stressed. So loving your body and kind of having that mindset, I think is really important. So thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that.
No, thank you. I think the first step, like, is literally accepting your current situation, whether it's like with your body, whether it's with your job, whether it's with a soulmate, whatever it is, like accepting that current situation and then trying affirming and making those changes and stuff. Because
Mhm.
if you're resisting it, that's already work you got to do in that area.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining me today. I've never done a podcast on affirmations, so
Awesome.
yeah, so
Wow.
excited to kind of change it up and get into a different topic. And thank you for all the work that you do sharing it. I think affirmations are great, and more people need to encompass that and sort of learn that. So again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for your time. This was so fun. And thank you to all the listeners as well.